most times during holidays, parents send their children to, go get extra lessons, to summer school to do extra studies and the likes. But we fail to realize that having a skill or two helps the child in a long run, and is advisable that we start that, at a very young age, because it helps them when they grow up. So today on Tea or Coffee, we'll be talking about skills development. And to do that, to discuss that with us, we have two guests in the studio. We have Adedayo, Adebogun, and we have Abraham Owosheni. Now, Abraham Owosheni is an educator and a life skills expert, and Adedayo Adebogun is a business startup consultant.
Good
You're
morning.
Welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. You're welcome.
Okay, so we're talking about skills development.
Okay.
Now, before we delve into the topic, skills development, we'd like to know how important is it for you to actually have a skill aside your day-to-day job?
Okay. Let me just do a kind of a background to our focus this morning.
Okay.
So if we're talking about skills development, just like the illustration you gave, during breaks and holidays, parents still go for extra lessons and all of that. So what actually is the place of skills, right? Let me give these three major type of skills, right? So that we could just look at it holistically.
Okay.
Number one is you talk about technical skills, right? Or you could call it professional skills, such that in whatever career you are in, you are vast with the requisite technical skills to deliver, right? Secondly, we talk about life skills, or some people call them soft skills, right?
Yes.
These also are basic skills that you need to meet the demands of daily living. And then the third one you could also call is vocational skills, but that could be embedded with technical skills as well, whether it's professional career you're in or vocational career. Now, so having this holistic background, you can actually begin to appreciate the need to be skilled up, right? And you're not just skilled up, in one area. I see that the most dividend for skill up is actually when you have these three areas I've mentioned, right? You see a professional who is skilled in his technical delivery, but still lacks some form of character or values. So there's a gap in that area. And for me as a person, and in a bulk of what I do, we found that life skills gap amongst young people, right? It's a big lacuna that we need to fill to deliver the benefit of skills. So a number of things are not working and we're not seeing the dividends because young people, young adults, teenagers are not built up around these areas of skills. And some are built in one but deficient in others. And so we need it to be an holistic compass of skill development.
Okay, so we've talked about these three skills, so about technical, the soft, and I refer to the other one as the hard skills, the vocational skills. Okay, so which one do you think is preferable, especially for children during holidays to learn?
Well, I don't want to be biased, but I will be in a way. But again, just like Dio said, parents first need to share the mindsets with the children first. Not about coercing a child to a particular thing, no. Most times you find that when parents do that, it doesn't get the best results. And so you sit your child down first and you're saying, okay, now that you're on break, we have these 4 weeks, you have these 6 weeks, you have these 2 months, these 3 months. What do you think? What's your plan? And so if it's a parent that has actually been watching through the development of the child and say, oh, for example, I've sensed that this child loves photography. I've sensed that this child is so good in this subject area in school or needs more attention in this subject area. And so that gives the parents an idea of what area we should place more emphasis, for example. And so you could say, oh, in these 4 weeks, how about you going for an internship or a traineeship in a photography studio? And so it's not just about we're just doing something aloof, but it's tailored. And when a parent shares that mindset with a child, it's thoughtful that, oh, mom and dad are thinking about me, not just thinking about themselves or a reflection of themselves in me. It's about the child. And so a child really sees value in that and say, oh, that's true. Thank you for showing me this. And that's actually the goal of parents to guide and tailor a child towards the right path. So I wouldn't really say, oh, maybe the hard one, as you said, is the most paramount, but it's just about doing a need assessment part-time. If a child goes for this particular one this time, and then next time it goes for maybe life skills. For example, during holidays, at our youth organization, we run life skills and coaching for young people. And so you could say, oh, this first term break, can you go for this? This second term break, you're going to go to learn this one. And then so it's your education becomes holistic. That's the word I use. You have an holistic education, not just strengthened in academic prowess alone, but the other areas of life. Okay. That's my view on that.
Okay. You have to now sit down like as if you are having a discussion. You kind of, so it should not look like as if I'm selfish because I don't want at my old age, at my pension age, I don't want to be broke and nobody to to send me stipend to take care of myself. It will look like as if I want, just like you said, I want the best for you. So like now, looking at what you likely would become because of the traits I find in you, can we just do this? Can we, when you begin to come in that approach, it's a win-win because it will be easy for the child and it will also be easy for you to even tailor that child in that direction to get the results that is desired.
Just to add to what Daya said, actually, if you look at the meaning of skill, it talks about a form of ability that you want to acquire or develop, right? And so, where for some, you find an endowment that needs some form of refining. And for some others, you acquire the skill. So we have acquired skill, we have endowed skill. Yes, and so, just to buttress that either ways, a parent is looking at that and then is helping the child to have both.
Okay. All right. So there's a situation of a particular woman who is into hairdressing.
Okay.
And now she feels that, okay, after I do this and I pass on, who is going to take over what I am doing? Who would I answer?
Yes.
Exactly. Who am I going to hand over my business to? So this child actually has a strength in tailoring.
Okay.
And then the mother pushes her to, hairdressing.
Okay.
And several times she would tell me that I am not interested in this. I'm just doing it to make her happy. So what impact do you think it would have on children when parents have to make choices for them?
Okay, you see, we have what we call generalized knowledge.
Okay.
And also we have what we call specialized knowledge. As we grow on in life, sometimes you have opportunities for generalized knowledge. But then you could maximize those opportunities. But as you maximize those opportunities, you should not be beclouded to forget the areas of specific knowledge a person needs. So, for example, that kind of a child, perhaps you just have an opportunity for a generalized knowledge. In other words, that knowledge may not necessarily be needed fully, like something you're going to engage every single day of your life. But it's just a generalized knowledge that, oh, you have that, that knowledge about that area, and then you could just make some decisions or guidance for someone, just like that. But then it would be good if that child actually, just like you said, knows that, oh, I'm more interested in this area. If there's a way simultaneously is also developing, himself or herself also in that area. So the other one just becomes a generalized knowledge, and this one just becomes a specific knowledge, right? And then we are meant to in the school of thought of skill development, we're meant to place more emphasis on specific knowledge because that's the one we're going to engage the most. I have a number of generalized knowledge. I just know it. But then every single day, I'm engaged on specific knowledge, no matter how small, that we add to what I do. So that's the bulk of the skill development. But again, we may not necessarily forget or sublime generalized knowledge. If a child has an opportunity to learn maybe how to play saxophone or how to play, yes, it could just go for it. It's an opportunity, right? Just be generalized. And maybe as a child evolves in growth and in life, you may even find that, oh, I think I like this thing. So especially for younger people, children, what a child needs is exposure, right? You don't start to build up skill in a child and you're just imposing everything. No. A very young child, a child is 3, 4, 5, just give him exposure. Exposure. And then as a parent, you're watching the various exposures and seeing which one catches the fancy of this child. And then as you see that one, perhaps that could be a specific area of knowledge, and then you invest more in giving the child knowledge in that area. And the result will be amazing. That's how we find young people who are major inventors and major creative art people and various fields at a younger age. because the parents gave them right exposure from the younger age, and then they were able to focus on the areas of their interest in this exposure. That's just amazing.
All right. So, Dayo, what would you have to say?
Just like I said when you started that scenario, I said, Nigerian factor, in the sense that everybody wants someone who will carry on his legacy.
Yes.
You understand? And this is barbaric in the sense that a child have to live his father's life.
Yes.
You understand? So, but and they will start to cite examples of someone whose daddy is a lawyer and the son is also a lawyer, and then he's doing fine. It cannot be the same in all cases. And then why do you believe that person has maximized his own potential? While, because maybe he's averagely okay, he can travel, to choice location, and he can spend money and live good. It may not be fulfilling destiny. It may not be that, which he is called to do. As in, there's this calling, there's this passion. When you were able to do something without stress with ease, that people can say and say, man, this guy is just so good. Just looking at, the times we used to compare Ronaldo and Messi. I say one is ability, one is ability. Yeah, we used to say that. When you compare those two characters, you notice that Messi is just,
Please, before you go on, would you explain ability and ability?
Ability is what is inborn. Ability is what you are
What do you get acquired?
Okay.
So you look at it, you see someone who effortlessly will achieve a result that someone will have to spend, will come very early, just like we used to hear Ronaldo will come very early to the training ground to just come and add those skills. To come and, put all those add on so that by the time he's going to, put those things out, it will come out perfectly well. So you see that in Nigeria of us today, people tend to want to say, this is what I'm doing. So, at times I feel we just love the comfort zone. Because we want to say, okay, fine, we have the machine already here. I have the tape rule already here. Why do you now want to go to Yabola to go and then pay for the apprenticeship? You understand what I'm saying? So they want to play safe so that the child can say, just for producing, continue, just look at what I'm doing. You are going to be playing with your friends. Just stay here, look at what I'm doing, so that you two can learn this thing and all this thing. Who am I going to leave up everything to? So they end up trying to say they want to play safe. All these tools, the fear of the unknown, I don't want to lose it out. I don't want to throw them away. I want you to continue where I've stopped. Then that means, please, the meaning of it is this: please abandon your own destiny and follow
mine.
What I'm doing.
Exactly.
Which is very bad.
Wow.
It's a mindset we need to change.
Okay.
If it happens naturally, fine.
Yeah, sometimes we have natural.
Sometimes it happens naturally, but if it doesn't, we don't need to, force that. There are a whole lot of knowledge a person could acquire, get consultants to guide on how to run, an enterprise such that it becomes an institution, even when the founder is out. So once that is in place, with or without having a relative or a family relation to run it, the major thing is that the business or the organization lives on, continues the impact it's making.
Talking about children, parents looking at their children and then deciphering which one will suit them, you understand? So what of children that are very quiet? Because I know children have different personalities. Sometimes you may not be able to tell which one they like, which one suits them, which one doesn't. But you answer that question after the break, because we need to go on a short break. And please stay glued, because when we are back from the break, the phone lines will be open and then you can ask questions and make your contributions. We're still talking about skills development.
And the number is right there on your screen for you to call and give your contribution. Okay, so we still have Abraham Owosheni in the studio, and we still have Adedayo Adebogun in the studio. Before we went on break, Mojupe was talking about the question of children that are quiet and do not know how to express themselves. So how do you help that kind of child, develop your skill? And you were giving an example while we're off break.
Yes, I was giving an example of, a friend that is very quiet, and he growing up was very quiet, and his parents didn't know that, he loved music, and they had the idea that, he was should I say bookworm, just wanted to read and pass, and be in science class because he was so brilliant, you understand? So for that kind of child, he grew up now he's old, he's done with school, came out with a good grade, he's not using the grade, he's a musician, he's an artist, So for that kind of child, how can parents help them develop their skill, you know, because at the end of the day, they may not even know that they have those skills.
Okay, so we're talking about a blend of personality type and all of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so first thing I like to say is parenting is very intentional. Okay, so irrespective of the temperament type of a child, that the intentionality of a parent is to actually, from the birth, you're actually very intentional about the growth, every single thing about the child. So irrespective of the personality type or the temperament, a parent can still get to have this bonding and, you know, closeness with the child. Either of the parents, be it the father or the mother, that has this bonding. Most times, you know, we get to know that there's actually maybe either of the parents that do have this strong bond with them. Sometimes people say mostly the mom, but some also the dad. And so the idea of both parents is to come together and say, oh, there is something about, we've observed about this child, this, and that. And there will be one or two of them who will be able to say, okay, yeah, this is actually how this person is and all that. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yes.
So, but it has to be intentional. It won't happen casually. Both parents will have to make it intentional. And then, close to the end of the illustration you were giving earlier on, you see, that's still where skills come in. Now, this part now is life skills. For example, as a child, growing up, yes, you know, even personally, I didn't have opportunity to life skills, right? UNICEF defines life skill, and they say that education that, you know, helps young people to acquire life skill has transformative potential. Right. So the meaning of that is, so they've come up with a framework they call life skill-based education, LSB, right? And that's one of the framework we use for our curriculum development of life skills too. And one of them that ties to the question you asked is, I'm talking about career guidance and counseling, whereby for a young person, be it in his junior high in school or senior high, or even before then, is consciously being guided on his career path, right? And then because of that guidance, the parent, the child could get home and, you know, he could begin to express some things that the parents will begin to see. And he could, you know, one of the counsel I give young people is, you know, I've done a whole lot of career interventions, and young people get to tell me that, oh, Mr. Abraham, we still find this cohesive challenge and approach from our parents. What do we do? So I tell them, what you are meant to do, you've not done, is that you don't wait till the time of choice before you start speaking with your parents. Before the time of choice, you started engaging your parents. Oh, no, mom and dad, have you found that I like to do this?
Sorry, in the course we have a call. Reverend Jerry from Ali Moshaw.
That's an important question. There, you know,
it's just, you know, similarly in line with what I was saying. Such that when that child begins to have this exposure on career guidance, he gets them and begins to share with his parents that, oh, this is what I'm thinking about. This is the problem I'm attracted to solving. You know, just like the last caller said, this is a problem I'm attracted to solving. This is what I'm passionate about. These are the reasons. It's giving the parents the reasons. Number one, I feel I have this strength in this. I have a subject gift in this subject. I have this gift and ability in this one, and this and this and that. And so when he's done with that, the parents will be so surprised. They'll be so shocked. You seem to be talking more than your age. Where did you learn it from? You know, because the idea of parents actually is to see how they can just help the child from making a wrong step. But most times in doing that, they actually make the child take the wrong step. And so when this guidance is done, the child has a better exposure to take the right direction. We call it informed decision, right? And so the parents could also begin to now work with him or her to say, okay, so now you are saying this, okay, and they begin to make real-time research findings. There was a time in this country whereby it was just a university that was offering a particular course of study that ties with nutrition and dietetics. There was a time that it was just one institution. But it took the parents of a particular ward that had this scenario to make a research and find that...
Sorry, hold on. We have another caller on the line. Good morning.
Okay, thanks for calling. Let me just quickly answer that. We shared that earlier on. I don't know if he was watching then. We talked about giving a child varied exposures. So from the varied exposures, you know which one. He doesn't even need to say it. You know, a child spends time in this place, that place. He doesn't need to say it. So you could actually see it practically. And so even if the child is, introverted and is not having this public expression or this, extroverted expression. It's something that can still be seen, you know, and the parents can now spend more time on that. So that's just a basic one to that, right? And so to conclude the last earlier question, once that guidance is there, that child has a better direction. And just with the first caller that talked about, you know, paper qualification vis-a-vis skill. Yes. When you talk about the problem you want to solve, now then you ask the child, or the child even ask himself or herself, okay, now that I'm passionate to solve this problem, now that for example, now that I am passionate to solve the life skill gap in Nigeria, what do I do? What skills do I need? Right? And so you begin to look through, when we talk about acquiring skills, maybe I was going to talk about that, right? But when you look at acquiring skills, there are a number of ways we can mainstream skills development. The common one everybody claims of is the formal education. Okay.
So we have another caller.
Okay.
So you were saying?
Yeah, I was saying mainstreaming skills development, we have about 3 or 4 ways. The common one is the formal education. And the idea was that, the initial idea actually was that a person finds a course of study, a course of life. And then he chooses a course of study to refine him and equip him in that path. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
I get you.
A person finds a course of life, and then he chooses a course of study in line with that course of life to equip him in that. But the issue currently now is that there's a missed gap whereby, you know, young people don't even know the course of life they are pursuing, but they just want to have a course of study. Let me just be in school. Let me just get to school. And they get to school, and there's actually there's no place I'm running towards.
Okay.
You see that kind of gap.
We had a caller online, but we lost it.
Right, okay. So when you find out that there's actually no place I'm running towards, even after you now get there, you just stop and say, okay, so where was I running to? Now I have a first degree, now I have a second degree. Where was I running to? Okay, what do I do with where I am now? So that's the gap we have, whereby young people don't know the course of life, but they have various courses of study for those who even get access to that level, and there's nothing to do with it. So first is identifying the course of life, right? Course of life, and then what problem do you want to solve while on this path, and what skills will you require? No, a child says, oh, I need professional skills. Okay, what professional skills do you need?
Okay, yes, okay. So he was talking about children now wanting to not go to school once they acquire the skill, and then they realize they can get money from it,
and they don't want to go to school again.
That's why I talked about the fact that one of the first things that, you know, we have a life skill course that we'll talk about. The title is Purpose, Potential, and Destiny. Okay. You know, just shorten that's PPD. Right? And the idea of that life skill course is to help young people gain a picture about their life. Right? That's the first thing, that's the first exposure a child needs. Right? He needs to just understand, okay, now that I'm on earth, is there anything more to me than just me, myself? What am I living for? What's the destination? What's the destiny ahead of me? Right? So that's the first exposure. Once that exposure is put in place with the requisite organizations, CBOs, FBOs, NGOs that administer that, like we do, you know, a child gets that understanding. And then following it comes the and, just like you talked about it, the and skill. And then from the and skill, so a child actually knows that, oh, I'm actually acquiring this and skill because of these. So this one is actually a means to an end, not the end in itself. So, but when it's the other way around, the child sees that as the end in itself, makes the little token he's making out of it for the short time, and then, you know, it's just a gap again. Right? So that first must be put in place. There's what I call the mind versus the and.
Okay.
The mind versus the and talks about the fact that skills development will start from the mind. And then it grows from the mind to the and.
Okay.
But without the mind first, you're just acquiring the and. So, for example, you find a number of persons who have had some technical and skill, vocational skills, but then the mind part is missing. The administration is missing. The purpose is missing. There's still a wide disconnect.
Okay.
So it must grow from the mind to the
hand. All right. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Yes. With no doubt, this conversation has been interesting, and you know, I wish we could actually go on and on, but because of our time, we need to wrap up the show. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Abraham.
Thank you.
And Adedayo.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Yes, all right, so that is all we can take on today's episode on Tea or Coffee. My name is Wura Olapopola. Make sure that you have a good day.
And my name is Mudupe Jacobs. Thank you for watching Tea or Coffee. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.